I started this sketchbook about 10 months ago, and I had a couple of blank pages left, and I thought I'd fill those up with a couple things that were rumbling around in my head, and then I would call this sketchbook completed. And normally I wouldn't make a big deal out of this, except that this particular sketchbook, it's ended up being a pretty important one to me. Or more, I think it's important because it captured some of the pivotal artistic points in my artistic journey, if you want to call it that. So let's fill up the last bits of this sketchbook, and then we'll have a quick flip through. And if we have not met, my name is Brian, aka Baru, and it's very nice to meet you. Let me know in the comments if this is your first visit. That always gives me a smile. And if it's your 20th or 50th visit, I want to hear from you too. Of course, I always like to travel with good artistic friends. Anyway, so I typically have about 10 or 12 sketchbooks that I'm using at any one time. Different papers, different sizes, different types of content. And then I've got a load of, I don't know what you call them, like sketchbooks, where I would do like planning and thumbnail sketches and keep notes and all that sort of stuff. So all that is to say that sometimes it takes me a while to finish any one sketchbook. This one clocked in at just over 10 months, which isn't a horribly long time. This is supposed to be a watercolor sketchbook, and it was pretty inexpensive. And honestly, for the price, the paper is really nice and thick, 300 GSM or so. No worries on bleed through with wet media, although alcohol markers still found their way to the other side. But the quality of the paper, unfortunately, is not the best. And, it's really fibrous, and it kind of sloughs off, and there's just weird little things that happen when you use watercolors on it. So I'm a bit ambivalent about the quality of this particular sketchbook. I'm probably like most people. I have a hard time spending 30 or 50 bucks on a watercolor sketchbook because, it puts that extra pressure on to do great things. And that expectation sometimes makes things harder to be free to try new things, and experimenting is part of my DNA, so I don't want to stifle that. This little art piece is one that I had in mind vaguely. I was trying to get sort of a foggy morning atmosphere, which, I don't think I actually got, but it was still fun playing around with India ink and water. And, I don't know, it's got a mood. I am trying to get a little bit speedier and a little bit more, painterly with my watercolors. And my typical nature is to be very detail-oriented and precise, and I've needed to consciously try to, embrace the lack of details and try to be a little bit more expressive. Now, I wanted to explore a 3-zone face, which honestly I'd never heard of before, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And that is, particularly with male faces, that the middle of the face, the ears, the cheeks, the nose, are in a red zone. The forehead is a yellow zone, and the bottom third is blue. Now, the reason I wanted to study things like this is to get away from using the same skin tone everywhere, which is really, really tempting, but it really doesn't end up being that lifelike. The differences are subtle when you do it, for accuracy, but it does make sense that areas with, blood closer to the surface of the skin would be more red, for instance. Now, on this one, I intentionally exaggerated the differences, and I do think that it gives it a pretty interesting and expressive look. I really would like to do more portraits along these lines, as the months go by. When I began picking up watercolors a couple years ago, portraits were actually my ultimate aim. Although, I found some really fun things to do along the way, things that I am certain to continue to work on as well, and some of those which I will show you in the flip through of this sketchbook. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. It's basic shapes and shadows. I didn't even bother putting in eyes. And I actually love the colors, as unusual as they might be. So here is the completed sketchbook. Handsome enough looking, although, as I said, I have a few misgivings about it. And the cover has my Lloyd sticker on it, who's blasting some Peter Gabriel to the lovely cicada of his life. And on the flip side, some fun stickers by a few of my art friends. And I'll put their information in the description. Now, my friend in Snailedom, Teresa, made this fun one. I actually have the entire family of snails from her. And let's see, this nonplussed mushroom was created by a fellow Texan artist, Reb, over at Made by Reb. And her art is fabulous and quirky. And these guys are maybe a bit horrified to have Mama Possum. It's hard to look elegant with 8 babies clutching onto your fur. And that one's made by Deb at Debbie Draws Funny, and her channel is a hoot and a riot. So let's see what's inside. My opening page, along with the date and all that, a future sticker idea. Justice for Schrodinger's cat. If you're not outraged, you're probably fine. But you might not be. I don't know. There's just real no way of knowing. And here is Mr. 3-Zone Face Man. Certainly needs a better name. I don't know if you have any suggestions. But I do like how this one turned out. I think it looks pretty good. And I had a series of drawings that I did in response to some silly voicemails that were left for me. And I hope to do this again April 1st coming on up. So get your silly call ideas prepared. I would explain all these, but it's just easier just to watch the videos. So yeah, there's a few of them, and I think they're kind of fun. And here we have another ode to Schrodinger right here. Schrodinger's alpaca or something like that. And oh, you can see the phone number. You can call that phone number right there on the right, and you can leave a message even right now. Yeah, and then I said earlier that this sketchbook let alcohol markers bleed through, and you can kind of see that there. And one of the big turns that I made this year was getting back into some of the architectural sketching that I had done in the past, but trying to be more loose and expressive. And I had a couple videos on this. In fact, I had one recently. Really had a lot of fun with these. I think I enjoyed doing these kind of out of my imagination. So there is no right or wrong, but I could really get kind of funky with the colors and the ideas, and they don't, like this one, it makes no sense. I guess that's part of my style sometimes, is just seeing how far I can go. I do kind of like the feel of some of these. This one is kind of pastoral and fun with Mr. Bigfoot, and the Spadina house. Oh, that's in the Los Angeles area. I wonder if that's okay with the wildfires. I haven't even thought about that until just now. I think it's probably okay. I think Beverly Hills is where that is, but that's not too far. Yeah, and I did a series of kind of tree houses as well, sort of mixing the architecture and the nature thing, which was something that I was trying to do. I don't think I've shown this one before. I was never really very pleased with it. But, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think it has potential. Oh, yeah, and that stupid one that I just did recently, this one, everything's soaked through that binding, and I ruined a few of the pages. Well, not ruined, but stained them. I do kind of like this piece. If I were a little bit more careful and using a bigger piece of paper, I think this would have looked better, but it was an interesting experiment. I had a few drawings here that were from my, I had a vacation in Michigan as part of a family reunion, and some of these are kind of inside jokes, and this is a little condo that we stayed in right on Lake Michigan. Beautiful, beautiful. And then there was another round of drawings inspired by weird, crazy phone messages left by followers and some of my other art friends. Just quick little things that don't really make a lot of sense without the background. But then there is this one here. And this one kind of changed my style that I was doing over the summer. I was kind of hinting at something like storybook sort of illustrations, setting up a scene, implying some sort of story. So a lot of these have that sort of feel. Not this one in particular. You can see that was for the sticker. But I think this sort of thing suited me pretty well because I can add unusual characters like mushroom people and isopods and cicadas and whatever. And it's more than just a random idea. It's got its own sort of world. I'm not sure if that makes any sense or not, but it works in my head. And speaking of heads, I did a series of self-portraits that I was turning into caricatures. And this is something that I wanted to try for quite a while, and I think they turned out pretty well. And then we move into very recent history, some urban sketching. And I was allowing myself to get progressively looser with detail and with reality. I was really able to see how some of my watercolor techniques had improved over the years, so that was really helpful. And this was kind of a bummer to end the sketchbook on because it didn't really work the way I envisioned it. Mixing watercolor and India ink. It's got an interesting idea, but execution, not so much. Lloyd, the guy on the cover, has been making his travels around the world, and if you'd like a free Lloyd sticker of your own, just send me a note through Instagram or email. All that info is in my YouTube bio. And to everyone, I have been so inspired by my fellow art friends and by the support of subscribers, both new and old, and I thank you so much. I hope to have another video up soon, but until then, bye-bye.